You are alone. Out in the wild, the sun is setting, and then a sudden snap, the sound of bone. It is the greatest pain you have ever felt. You reach for your gear, your essential survival equipment. It is not there. Welcome back to the Mystery Rift. Tonight, we're delving into the deep woods and the terrifying anomalies I've collected through years of research into the missing 411 phenomenon. We are looking at the cases that absolutely defy logic. Cases where people vanish and are sometimes found under circumstances that just don't make any sense at all. This is the heart of the enigma. Let's begin with a case from the Lake Tahoe area, a place called Homewood. On July 8th, an aged man, a Spanish War veteran we'll call Mr. Holland, was fishing along a remote creek. The evidence indicates he suffered a compound fracture of his femur, the largest bone in the body. They tell you just breathing hurts when that bone breaks. Yet, Mr. Holland performed an act of immense, almost unbelievable willpower. He dragged himself from the place of injury to the creek bank, a significant distance, where he remained until his death. Days later, he even managed to keep a fire burning, feeding it with matted pine needles, a desperate signal for help. This is a man fighting with every ounce of his energy and resolve. But here is the profound anomaly that haunts this case. When his body was discovered by a cowboy named Robert Skate, several key things were missing. His fishing pole, the blanket he reportedly had. Also missing were the essential materials he likely used to splint or tend to such a catastrophic wound. Where did those supplies go? The pain alone would make it impossible for him to carry them far. And the kicker, his friends knew he had just received a $50 pension check. No money was found on his person, just rosary beads, a signet ring, and a bunch of keys. It raises a chilling question. Did Mr. Holland's agonizing fight for survival begin with a catastrophic injury? Or did it start with an encounter that left him injured and suddenly deprived of his necessities? Did someone stumble upon this injured man and take what little he had, leaving him to die? The evidence is contradictory, haunting, and completely unresolved. Next, we move north to the rugged, remote coast of California, near a town called Elk. This is an area I know well, thick with timber, deep gullies, and treacherous cliffs right up against the ocean. The date is August 10th, 1936. Teresa Boyo, a woman grieving the recent tragic loss of her husband and son, was staying at her cousin's ranch, trying to find some peace. She was out walking with her cousin, Mrs. Polino, rounding up cattle. Mrs. Polino sees Teresa walk over a small knoll, and then she's simply gone. Her tracks were found leading away from the ranch, towards the deep coastal scrub. Over 5 days, hundreds of people, including 200 organized CCC workers, combed that area. They searched above, below, everywhere. They were meticulous, searching every inch of the hillside. And they reported this as fact. They found absolutely no fragment of clothing on any bush, thorn, or tree. Nothing. In that kind of rough, wild coastal scrub. If a person walks through, pieces of fabric always snag. It is a physical impossibility not to leave a single trace of your passing. This suggests that Teresa either floated above the ground or she was removed from that unforgiving environment in a way that left absolutely no physical signature of her struggle or passage. 7 years later, she was officially declared deceased. But I have to ask you, where did she go? The evidence on the ground simply does not match the known facts. This is a common feature in missing 411 cases, the bizarre and complete lack of debris or physical evidence where it should unquestionably be present. It's an erasure. Finally, we journey inland into what I sometimes call Bigfoot Central, the High Palm area, near the Trinity River. This is deep timber country with a history of unusual events. This is where 2-year-old Vern Mahi disappeared on January 27th, 1,000 940 at 9:00 a.m. His mother was making breakfast. The scent of breakfast usually keeps a young child completely tethered to the home. The search was massive and intense. 500 people searched for days in the cold, unforgiving January weather. It rained heavily on the second day, bringing deep concern for the boy's survival. On January 29th, 3 days later, a searcher named Cyril Dean went back to a specific area 2 miles from the cabin, an area that had been searched. They claimed at least 5 or 6 times prior. Dean hears a rustling. He calls out, and little Vern Mahi stands up. Right next to the creek, he puts out his arms to be picked up. He never spoke a single word about what happened to him. But here are the facts that should give you pause. That should make you question everything. Vern was essentially dry. After a day of cold, hard rain, a small child who had been sleeping in the woods for 72 hours should be soaked to the bone. Not only that, he was found adjacent to water, a very frequent pattern in my research, and he had a slight fever. Another physical signature often noted in these miraculous, yet mysterious recoveries. A 2-year-old child does not travel 2 miles, survive 3 days of exposure in the rain, and remain dry, especially when he is found in a location that trained searchers had already meticulously cleared multiple times. Where was he for those 3 days? And why are these young children often found with this strange, mild fever? It's completely abnormal and suggests shelter and care from an unknown source. Look at these 3 cases. An injured veteran's essential supplies are gone. A grieving woman vanishes without leaving a single trace of passage in the densest undergrowth. And a 2-year-old is found clean, dry, and silent miles from home, in an area already searched. They are separated by decades, by geography, and by circumstance, yet they share this common thread of unresolved, shocking anomalies. They don't fit the logical profile of a typical missing person case. They point to something else at play in our wilderness, something we aren't being told, something we simply don't understand about the deep woods. If you venture out alone, especially into the wild, remote areas I've discussed, you need to be prepared for the impossible. Not just with water and food, but with a personal locator beacon. Because when the unimaginable happens, when you break a bone or fall ill, you'll wish like the Dickens you had one. These are the cases that demand further investigation. They are the missing 411. Thank you for joining me in the Mystery Rift. Be safe, be observant, and be kind. Peace out.